The United States is a great country, or at least that's what Americans always tell me. They claim to have the best healthcare system in the world, the greatest military, the most prosperous economy, and they also have some pretty cool things like air conditioning, the interstate highway system, and microwavable mac and cheese. But there are certain things about life here that I find hilarious, but not for the reasons that Americans intend. So today, I am going to expose them so you can see the dark side of American life through the eyes of a Canadian. Let's do it. One of the first things that always strikes me as funny about America is how large everything is. Houses are bigger, roads are wider, food portions are larger. Everything is supersized here. And while this is usually a good thing, after all, who doesn't like a big house, wide roads, or giant tubs of ice cream? It does present some unique challenges. Take this drive-through, for example. In Canada, when you go to a drive-through, it's usually to pick up your food. In America, it's to pick up your medicine. Take a look at this parking lot. There are 6 lanes for cars to pull into, but only one little tiny window to pick up your prescription. What happens when 5 cars are waiting to get their medication? Do they let 3 people in and make 2 people wait in their car? No, everyone has to wait in line for 20 minutes until someone drives off. And then, depending on what you're picking up, you might have to wait another 30 minutes in your car for security reasons. Now, if that's the case, why don't they just open more lanes? Well, because America, my friend, is the land of inefficiency. If you open another lane, then there won't be enough work for all the employees. There's only enough work for one cashier. And if there's too much work for everyone, well, then some loser is gonna end up working overtime. And in this country, overtime is reserved for truck drivers and prostitutes. Nobody else works overtime. The next thing that I find both fascinating and funny about America is the sheer number of laws and rules that exist here. In Canada, we have the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which guarantees us certain rights and freedoms. But other than that, we're pretty much allowed to do whatever we want, like smoke weed, walk across the street, or put pineapple on our pizza. Here in America, they take things a little more seriously. And if you don't follow the rules, you could end up behind bars. In fact, just last week, I was driving down the road and I saw this sign that said, "Stop. Stop on red except when proceeding from a private driveway or turning left onto a private driveway." Now, this is a weird one because it's so specific. If you're Canadian like me, you probably don't even know what it means. Essentially, it means that if you're turning left into a private driveway, you don't have to stop at the stop sign. You can just turn left directly into the driveway. It's not quite clear why this rule exists, especially considering that if you turn left into a private driveway without stopping, you could hit a pedestrian, a cyclist, or a low-flying duck, and nobody wants that. The point is, in Canada, we have general rules, but it's up to us to decide whether or not we want to follow them. In America, they have rules for every single situation, and you better follow them or you'll get a ticket. But speaking of tickets, let's talk about traffic. In Canada, when you drive over the speed limit, the police will give you a speeding ticket. In America, they'll give you a speeding ticket, a warning, and write you up for not wearing your seatbelt. And if you're driving with a suspended license, they'll probably put you in jail for 18 years. Another thing that always makes me laugh about America is the way they handle their elections. Back home in Canada, we have a first-past-the-post electoral system. Basically, whoever gets the most votes wins. It's simple, easy to understand, and most importantly, it works. Here in America, they do things a little differently. First of all, they elect the president by the Electoral College rather than by popular vote. This means that if you live in California, your vote counts a lot less than if you live in Wyoming because there are far fewer people per electoral vote in Wyoming. Second, they hold their elections in November, which to me makes absolutely no sense. Why would you want to hold an important event like an election in the middle of fall when everyone is busy raking leaves and planning their next pumpkin spice latte? And third, the campaigns are insane. They start months, if not years, before the actual election, and it's non-stop negativity. Each candidate tries to tear the other one down instead of building themselves up. And it's just so predictable. Democrat vs. Republican, liberal vs. conservative, every election is the same, and it's exhausting. Back in Canada, we do and have these ridiculous drawn-out campaigns, and most people don't even realize that we have an election coming up until it has already happened. And if you miss the deadline to register to vote, oh, well, you can just vote in the next one. There's no such thing as voter suppression in Canada. We have first past the post, which makes things simple and easy to understand. And if you don't like the winner, you can just wait 4 years until the next one. But one thing that I find truly hilarious about living in America is the attitude towards personal hygiene. In Canada, we wash our hands before eating, shower every day, and brush our teeth twice a day. But here in the US, they take things to the next level. Americans are obsessed with cleanliness, and it's kind of weird. When I first moved here, I noticed that people were constantly cleaning their hands with hand sanitizer. And I thought, wow, they must be germaphobes. But then I realized that it's just the American way. They spray that stuff everywhere. On public transportation, in restaurants, in airports, in grocery stores, literally everywhere. The entire country is covered in hand sanitizer stations? Now I get it. Hand sanitizer is a quick and easy way to clean your hands when you don't have access to a bathroom. But do people really need to use it after touching a doorknob? Personally, I think it's a bit excessive, but hey, if it makes them feel better, then who am I to judge? Another thing that I find very funny about America is the entitlement. Here in the US, people expect things to be perfect. If they order a coffee with oat milk and it comes out with almond milk, they'll throw a fit. If the TV isn't working, they'll call the manager. If the food is cold, they'll send it back. And if the service isn't exceptional, they'll leave a bad review online. But in Canada, we're a little more laid back. If our coffee has almond milk instead of oat milk, we'll just drink it. If the TV isn't working, we'll change the channel. If the food is cold, we'll put it in the microwave, and if the service sucks, we'll just never go back. But one thing that I've noticed is that Americans are very quick to complain, but they're even quicker to defend their country. Patriotism is a good thing, but in America, it's taken to a whole new level. When I first moved here, I couldn't believe the amount of flags that were flying from pickup trucks. And it's not just the flag either. They have flags for everything: political parties, sports teams, high schools. You name it, they've got a flag for it. And if you're not displaying a flag, then you must not love America. And finally, one of the funniest things about America is the accents. I mean, Canada has accents too, but they're nothing compared to the accents here. My personal favorite is the Southern accent. I find it so charming and it reminds me of old-fashioned movies. But the rest of the country has some pretty interesting accents as well. From the Boston accent to the New York accent to the surfer dude accent. Each region has its own unique way of speaking, and it makes me laugh because they can't even agree on how to pronounce the word schedule. So there you have it, 6 things that I find hilarious about living in America. Do you agree with my take? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.